5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's all yours.
Okay, welcome to the January 6, 2020 Transportation Committee meeting. Roll call of commissioners. Everyone is present except for Councilman Lambert. Councilman Cagnotti, will you lead us in the invocation followed by the pledge?
I certainly will. Father, the Son, and Holy Spirit, amen. Heavenly Father, we ask your blessings as we address the transportation issues for Ascension Parish. During these testing times, please lead us to love one another, to respect one another, to be patient and to be kind. Please spare the folks of Ascension Parish any loss of life, any more loss of life during this COVID crisis. Help us to get through these tough times with your blessings and with your grace. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Holy Spirit, amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, and now, Jessica, will you read the agenda for us, please?
Yes, I will. 5A, under general business, acceptance of minutes of June 2nd, 2020 as written. 5B, acceptance of minutes of June 15th, 2020 as written. 5C, department report. 5D, presentation of status of Move Ascension project. 5E, presentation and discussion of proposed Ascension Parish Transportation Master Plan. 5F, approval of change order number 1 for the LA 73 at Henry Road intersection improvements to increase the contract price by $13,600 for additional drainage pipe to install along Henry Road for future drainage connection. 5G, approval of change order number 2 for the LA 73 at Henry Road intersection improvements project to increase the contract price by $13,260 for asphalt pavement patching at cross drain locations. 5H, approval of change order number 3 for the LA 73 at Henry Road intersection improvements to decrease the contract price by $5,123.57 for restocking of remaining storm sewer pipe and deduction of pipe from contract. 5I, approval of change order 001-MA-17-01-A, Roddy Road, LA 935 to LA 621, clearing and grubbing master contract. 5J, approval of change order 002, MA-17-01-A, Roddy Road, LA 935 to LA 621, clearing and grubbing master contract. 5K, approval of change order 003-MA-17-01-A, Roddy Road, LA 935 to LA 621, clearing and grubbing master contract. 5L, approval of change order number 1 for the LA 73 at Oakland Drive to increase the contract price by $24,593.53 to provide for additional saw cutting of pavement, provide for square tube posts for street signs, and provide a stone replacement for a sub-base failure. 5M, request approval to extend the contract term of the 11 contract design consultants through August 2021 in order to continue to provide services as part of the Move Ascension program and as provided for in their respective master general engineering contracts. 5N, roads to be considered for acceptance into the parish maintenance system as follows: Ascension Commerce Center, Camellia Cove Subdivision, Germany Oaks Subdivision Phase 2, Jamestown Crossing Second Filing, Reese Lane subdivision. 5O, approval of entity state agreement for state project H.013850 Duplessis Road widening US 61 to LA 73. 5P, approval of change order MC04 balancing change order for 2019 asphalt overlay master contract. 5Q, approval of substantial completion for 2019 asphalt overlay task 3. 5R, approval of substantial completion for 2019 asphalt overlay master contract. 5S, request for a contract time extension, no additional funds through December 31st, 2020 to the following HNTB task orders for the Move Ascension program. Amendment 5, Task Order 1, Transportation Master Plan. Amendment 1, Task Order 4, Environmental Courts Permitting. Amendment 1, Task Order 5, Right-of-Way Acquisition. And that is it. And then we open the public comment period, 15 minutes.
Yes, Jessica, thank you very much. Before we move to the public comment period, under the chairman's report, item, let's see, I just had it, is 5E, is presentation and discussion of proposed Ascension Parish Transportation Master Plan. This was an error by my part, not on the staff's part. It was supposed to read presentation and approval of proposed Ascension Parish Master Transportation Plan. We need a unanimous vote of the commission members to alter this, to read presentation and approval. Can we get a roll call vote on that, Jessica?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion
To approve the amendment as
and a
stated.
second. Jessica, would you do a roll call vote, please?
Councilman Wagasback,
Yes.
Councilman Mason,
Yes.
Councilman Cagnolati,
Yes.
and Chairman Lawler.
Yes, and I apologize for that mistake, y'all. And now we'll move on to the 15-minute public comment period, and we will return at approximately 6:43. No, 53.
Reopen, wait.
There were no public comments or call-ins.
Shocked. Let's give Councilman Cagliati a moment because I misspoke before, and give him time to get back in. I don't want to start this party without him.
He's gonna be 3 minutes late at the worst. Should we all just start yelling his name and see if he hears us?
All this stuff that was with the virtual meetings, like people getting collected in the shower. Like, you see behind them, and you see people getting out of the shower.
We may call him.
We texted. Somebody go to Mason's house and check on him.
Literally right here.
Okay.
Let me call the sheriff, send him over to CAG's house.
May need that.
Went to voicemail. I mean, we still have a quorum, don't we?
Yes, but I would feel bad since I stayed at the wrong time. If I started too early, I don't think that'd be fair.
It's 6:49.
Here he is.
There he is.
I'm back.
I've got to find my agenda. Okay. Moving on. Oh, we just lost Michael.
I'm right here.
We don't have your video.
I don't know what's going
Which
on.
nobody's complaining about.
Can you not see me?
Can't see you.
So,
No.
What the heck? I'll sign out. Y'all keep going. I'll sign out and get back in.
Okay, well, we will move on to these next items. They're not terribly exciting. Item 5A is acceptance of the minutes of the June 2nd, 2020 meeting.
Motion, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion by Councilman Cagnolati. And I'm looking for a second on this from the only other person that could give a second, Councilman Wagasback. I read lips, didn't hear your microphone because it's off, but I read your lips, so we have a second by Councilman Wagasback. There's Michael Mason. Thank y'all. Any further discussion, any objection? Michael, we're only on item 5A, acceptance of the minutes, so you didn't miss anything exciting. No objections, so moved. Item 5B, acceptance of the minutes of the June 15th, 2020 meeting as written.
Motion.
We have
Second.
Councilman by Councilman Wagasback, second by Councilman Cagnolati. Any discussion? None. Any objections? None. So moved. Department report, Mr. Toro.
Thank you. I know it seems like we ought to be talking about drainage, but we are going to be talking about transportation. Just to review the DOTD projects that are ongoing, the LA 22 at LA 70 roundabout. I drove through that today. That looks like it's really 100% complete. It's a really pretty looking job, as you know, as far as a road project. There's a lot of concrete out there. The roundabout drives comfortably. It has the J turns. I really think that's going to be an enhancement to that area. A true capacity improvement project. It's a really great project. Glad it's finally happened. The Bayou Francois Bridge on Airline Highway, DOTD reports that is going to be finished in the summer of 2020. So later this year, in several months, we should be having our 4 lanes back in that area near Prepara Road. The same project but different bridge, the Bayou Manchac Bridge, they say that's going to be the spring of 2021 before that was finished, and we'll have those 2 bridges. And those 2 bridges, Airline at Bayou Manchac, will allow for 3 lanes in both directions. So, you know, if we can get some state support to have Airline Highway 3 lanes, we already have 3 lanes on Airline Highway from LA 42 to LA 427, which is Old Perkins. If we could continue that on through into East Baton Rouge Parish to Highland Road, I think that would help a lot of commuter traffic for Ascension Parish residents, East Baton Rouge Parish residents, and Livingston Parish residents. Once the 42 project is complete, it'll be great to tie that in and make a great capacity improvement there.
Joey, I hate to interrupt you.
Yes.
Councilman Cagnolati had a question for you.
Sure.
Yeah, Joey, how you doing? The bridges on Airline Highway, Francois Bayou, those are in my district, and I pass there quite often, and very seldom do I see anyone doing any work. If you talk to them about that, I mean, I go by there and the crane's in the same position for a week or 2, and I don't see anyone out there.
I don't know. I have to check to see why they've slowed production down over there. A lot of the concrete has been poured. Seems like there's a good bit of dressing, you know, a lot of dressing work left to do, and of course the asphalt tie-ins. But
Right.
I don't know exactly why there's been a delay.
Are they doing lanes on both north and southbound lane? Because I think they're just working on the southbound lane right now.
Just the southbound. That's all.
Okay.
The project just is just that side.
Okay. That's all, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you.
as I mentioned, the LA 42 project, they say it's going to be the end of the year before that one gets completed. It's the same as, you know, a lot of the Move Ascension projects. We've had not a significant amount of delays, but some delays because of the COVID-19 virus. It has slowed down either workers or suppliers. The LA 44 turn lane project is continuing. The last part of that project, you know, is the LA 44 at 621 project, and it's like adding left turn lanes in all 4 directions. I think the other intersections, I think the 44 at Bayou Narcisse Road, that area still has some work to do to make the turn radiuses nicer and to provide a left turn lane from 44 into Bayou Narcisse.
Joey, I hate to interrupt you again. Councilman Mason has a question for you.
Sure.
Hey, Joey, who do we talk to about those lights at Bayou Narcisse and 44 and Airline, that little sequence right there? I don't know how they're set up, or if they're set up. It seems kind of very random, and I sit at that, I myself, and I'm sure plenty of other people, we sit at that light a lot, and it doesn't seem to make any sense. And then the other thing, when you're going north on 44 after you go over Airline Highway at that light at Bayou Narcisse, people take a left onto that little side road that connects to Airline for some reason. I'm not really sure. Is there a way we can make that like a no left turn area? Because it backs up all the way on Airline when somebody's trying to take a left there, and it seems kind of pointless when you can take a left right there at Airline. So is there, I don't know who we talk to or how do we figure that out, but that's just something I just kind of want to put that bug in your ear while I got you here.
The only thing is that left is the only, other than Airline Highway, that's the main entrance into the Smoothie King that's right in that corner. So you can't really kill that entrance there. You know, that little segment of roadway that you're talking about across from Bayou Narcisse Road.
Yeah. I mean, they can take a left on the Airline. There's an entrance right there on Airline.
Correct.
I mean, it just backs up all the way. It just backs up that traffic. And when you're flowing, you know, when you're going down 44 towards Prairieville and you get stuck right there, we can't have traffic going across the Airline Highway, that major intersection, because somebody wants to take a left on that little cut through right there. I feel like just because of one Smoothie King, that would be, you know, an issue that we could at least look at and just see how necessary that left turn is. Because I think that's causing some of the delays, at least, that backs up 44 all the way, you know, towards the Napa and AutoZone and all that back there.
I agree. I know what the traffic engineers, you know, the true traffic engineers that know signalization and all that, they say to time signals that are that close together is virtually impossible. The Bayou Narcisse intersection is so close to the Airline Highway intersection. It's just unfortunate that you have that design, you know, to where you have those signals so close together. It's really hard for a traffic engineer to get a good continuous flow. You know, I mean, you can almost never get through the first light without getting stopped at the second. It's tough to get, you know, to where you can have a continuous run there. But I'll still bring it up to them and see what can be done there.
Okay, because I've sat many times at Bayou Narcisse while the Airline light goes through a full green cycle, and I'm like, we're you know, that area backs up. We all know that area backs up, and we know we're trying to do the best we can. But I'm sitting at that light going, man, this would be good if this light would turn green. I could probably make that light. So anyway, I appreciate you, Joey. I do appreciate you looking into it for me. Thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
Okay.
No, very good. Thank you.
Moving to the Parish Work, our pavement crew has had a busy month with working around the weather, of course, like everybody else. They did overlay Rue Road, Garçon Road, and Tom Williams Road. And then they also did some asphalt patches over some culverts on John Broussard, Swamp Road, Paula Road, Laverne Stafford Road, and Joe Boy Road. And we've been using a new piece of equipment that we just got this past month. It's called a PB loader, and we were joking about it, even the supplier doesn't know what the PB stands for, but it is a patching machine that allows us to do a very nice looking patch. It's a more defined patch. We're hoping to where we can use that machine as opposed to using cold mix. Cold mix is something that's strictly a temporary patch. This is a machine that allows the use of hot mix, and it makes it easier for the guys to do a better job with our patching to where, hopefully our patches are more of a permanent patch as opposed to a temporary patch. So we've been using that device quite a bit. The guys are getting used to it and using it more and more. We also, in cooperation with the school board, we had a cooperative endeavor agreement to where we built a road for Galvez Primary that allows the parent traffic a little more room inside the school grounds so that they don't back up onto the roadway, which is common, in a lot of schools where the schools are close to the main roadway. So this is something that the school board wanted, and it was discussed. Plans were put together. Now the Mike Beck, who is our superintendent, got with the superintendent and kind of took the plans and adjusted it to make sure that we accomplished what the school wanted. And I think everybody is going to be very pleased with it. It is basically complete. The last thing I was told last week was that all we needed is one good rain to pack the limestone. So I think we've gotten that rain. So it ought to be packed quite well. And that road should be ready for use next time school opens, and hopefully that the parent traffic will be able to use that road. That's what it's intended for, is for the parent traffic to drop off their kids, go down the road. There's a roundabout at the end, and then you can go back and return to Henderson Bayou Road. So that was a very good contract, a very good agreement with the school board. Casey Rabelais heads up our pavement preservation program, where some texture sealing was done. They actually did 27 roads scattered throughout the parish. It's in neighborhoods of Cypress Cove, Manchac Harbor, Quail Ridge, Renaissance, Wrenwood. Several roads in those subdivisions received a texture seal, which is a great preserver of the pavement. We hope we can get a lot longer pavement life on these roadways. So those 27 different roadways were accomplished this past month. They also did some crack sealing and what's called a bio-restore treatment. It's for newer roadways to where, again, we can just seal the fines in the roadway and to preserve the liquid asphalt that keeps the road nice and pliable and helps the endurance of that roadway. So that was done also. But we're not stopping there. There are 36 more roads that are on the horizon for us to do the same thing, to either a combination of crack sealing and texture sealing or the bio-restore product. So that is in the future for the parish. The other thing I wanted to go over, I know Jeff is going to give a rundown of the status of Move Ascension, but I just want to give you the construction part that the 6 projects that we have going on. LA 930 is fully complete now. We had a few little punch list items that needed to be done. It is now 100% complete. It resulted in a net underrun of $24,356.20. The St. Landry Ashland Connector roadway has all the dirt in place and the pipe work in place. There's a couple of cross drains that's included in that roadway. We have of course, the weather is not cooperating now, so we'll have to wait for that embankment to dry out. But the good thing is the ditches are dug for the most part on that roadway. It's sloped to where it should drain soon. We do have I was informed that the limestone that's going to go on top of that dirt roadway, the limestone is held up from delivery to the site, and they say it's a COVID-19 issue, just getting personnel to get the barges downriver to where we can continue with that project. But it's not going to be a significant delay. It's just going to be another week or two that it may add to it. So after that, after the limestone comes the asphalt, and then it's basically a dress-up job after that. So that project, I'm guessing, is somewhere around 65% complete. The Roddy Road widening project is getting towards the latter part of its construction. I mean, it's really just a clearing and grubbing contract, so we have a lot of trees removed and fences moved back to the new right-of-way line. There's quite a bit of right-of-way purchased for that project. It should be done in the next couple of weeks. The LA 73 turn lane projects, we have 3 of them. The first one that got started was LA 73 at Henry. That one has been going quite well. The asphalt is completed on that part. So again, we need dry weather to be able to dress that project up. Of course, it's got striping left to be done, but it's going quite well. I rode it today. It rides really well, I find. So that project, I guess, is around 80% complete. The next one is the LA 73 at Brown Road project. A lot of limestone base course is down. It's a little bit further behind. It's probably about 35% complete. The next is LA 73 at Oakland Drive, and it's kind of unfortunate. If we would have had a little bit more dry weather, I think we would have had asphalt on that project also, but where we are, I think, is about 65 or 70% complete on that roadway. There's several projects that's in your packet as to what's coming up. I'm going to let Jeff Burst of HNTB talk on more specifically on those points, but I'm going to steal some of his thunder in that the Seabro widening project is being advertised now. We hope to have it out for bid very shortly, and I'll let Jeff give details on that one and the next 6 or 7 projects in Move Ascension that we have going down the pike. Just to let you know on what the parish has done to kind of help things along, the Germany Road at Airline project, there was clearing that needed to be done. Well, that was done in-house by Ascension Parish Forces. We put a little small contract to get the fences moved back. All that's been done. We're going to give the utility, so the utility companies have a clean slate to get into that project and move the utilities back. So that project is not far from being able to be let out for bid to contractors. We also have the Henry at Highway 930 project. That's very similar. We had a little bit clearing left to be done. Some of it was heavy clearing, so like some big trees. But the parish again did that clearing. I think they still have some clearing left to be done. That's in the northwest corner of that intersection. That's very close to being completed. Again, we're going to have a small contract together to get the fence moved back to the new right-of-way. And then the first roundabout in Move Ascension will be at that intersection on Highway 930 and Henry. You know, a lot of things are right around the pike of getting done. And, you know, I find a lot of these projects, the 73 turn lane projects, the roundabouts, the Germany and airline project, those are turn lane projects. We're actually adding stuff to it. To me, that's what we're all about, is capacity improvement. Adding turn lanes and adding roundabouts improves the traffic capacity. We're really excited about that part, finally having construction going on. And I'll take any questions that you have.
Doesn't look like we have any questions. So I don't think we have anything further to add. So I'll move on to item number 5E, presentation and approval of proposed Ascension Parish Transportation Master Plan. A presentation will be made by Mr. Jeff Hurst and Mr. Kip Strauss, both from HNTB. I'll turn it over to them at this time.
Aaron, let me just say, I think we skipped over an agenda item to do the Move Ascension briefing before we move into the master plan.
I apologize. I just realized that.
And that's okay. That's okay. And I'll be real brief. Joey hit on a lot of the topics I was going to talk about, but then Kip is actually the one that prepared and will be given the briefing on the master plan, as he's the one that performed that. Okay. Well, in your packets, you have the standard Move Ascension briefing that you've seen each committee meeting, as well as an attachment with the list of projects. Let me go ahead and share my screen real quick. Okay, can everybody see that now?
And I'm thoroughly impressed.
I've got it.
That's good.
Okay. Item number one, you've seen this every month. I just leave it up there. It's just a program metrics of who's your program managers. We do have 11 different design consultants that we've hired to do all the design work. Them and all their subs, total about 28 different firms all around contributing to this program. As I mentioned in the next couple of bullets, we have 35 total projects. 33 of them are typically assigned to Move Ascension, but we are tracking on your behalf 2 additional ones, which are listed there on your attachment. The only other thing that really jumped out is from last month, there's a significant increase in the number of right-of-way parcels. You'll see there in your attachment in the briefing that we have acquired, up to 178 parcels acquired. And we are going to closings on another handful next week. So we're moving along nicely on that. As I scroll down, you'll see the projects that Joey just discussed that are under construction. So I won't reiterate those, but happy to answer any questions on it if you do have any. But really what we want to talk about is what's up next for construction. You'll see Seabro widening from 73 to Bluff Road. We've submitted the bid documents, and the first advertisement is scheduled for that project to go to construction next week on the 16th. It'll hit the papers, and contractors will be able to download it from Central Auction House on that. Joey also mentioned 930 at Henry Roundabout. That will be one of our first, or the first roundabout that we do as part of Move Ascension. And as you mentioned, the clearing will be complete at the end of this week, and if weather not permitting, probably leak into next week on that. The in-house DPW crews did do that clearing. As Joey mentioned, a lot of it was some heavy clearing, and then there's some light brush, and then we'll get some fences adjusted so that we can move utilities in that area. We already have agreements with the water company and gas company on that, and are working with Demco to move their lines as well. US 61 Germany improvements. The clearing has already been done by DPW in-house forces. Fences have been relocated on that project already, and we already have utilities scheduled to move in there as well. 929 and 930 roundabout, which is just south along the same 930 corridor of that Henry roundabout. That is finalizing right-of-way acquisition. DPW's crews will clear that southwest quadrant, and then again we'll schedule utilities getting there so we can advertise that one for letting as well. And then we have 2 intersection improvements along Roddy, one at Knollwood, one at Merritt Evans. We've acquired all the right-of-way, utilities are being moved, and we can go to advertisement probably on that one at the end of this month as well. And then again, we have another clearing to extend down from 935 all the way down to Airline Highway at 61 to complete that Roddy corridor of about 3.5 miles. That'll be totally cleared and ready for utility relocation along that corridor as well. Okay, scrolling down, just kind of dig a little bit deeper into some of these pre-construction activities that are so important. As I mentioned, 178 right-of-way parcels acquired to date. It's a pretty good jump up from last time. 6 total projects have been completed with all right-of-way acquired, with another 4 to 5 by the end of summer expected. And there's several other projects that are early on in the design phase, so we'll work on those as those get further developed. Moving into utility relocations, you see the ones that are completed. We've had Shell Pipeline extend their casing on some of their pipelines along Roddy and Weber City, and they're scheduled later this month to do the same at the Parker and 929 roundabout project location. You'll also notice that we're beginning this month at the Roddy Road intersection improvements, the 61 Germany, Henry 930 roundabout, and then leaking into next month into August probably will be that other roundabout further south at 929 and 930, as well as the Bro Germany roundabout. You've seen the item 6 here before, environmental. We've gotten all of the core permits, and we have delineated all the wetlands, and we've paid all the mitigation thus far. We've initiated several new projects, so as those further develop, we will go and work with the Corps to get those cleared environmentally and secure those Corps of Engineer permits as well. I think it was last month, Joey had asked me to kind of talk to y'all a little bit about some federal funding that we've been able to leverage, and I really want to kind of just mention this again and kind of point out some key facts that could mean a lot for the Move Ascension program. Previously, we were able to secure $9.3 million in federal CRPC block grant greater than 200K monies. And with that, they were specifically dedicated to Roddy and Henry. But as Move Ascension came along, we want to advance those projects a lot quicker than going through the standard DOTD elongated timeline. So we are shifting those monies elsewhere, 9.3, because we're funding Henry and Roddy with Move Ascension local monies. We then applied, and we were able to successfully receive over $7.5 additional million for Germany and Duplessis. That's again federal CRPC money, where we're getting this money and we're getting these projects through pre-construction and construction at 20 cents on the dollar. Now, what I've done is prepared several new stage zeros to be able to take that previously allocated 9.3 million and move it around. So you can see here on your report that we were able to add additional $600,000 to the Church Point and Roddy roundabout, and that's in addition to the $1 million we were able to get in DOTD safety funds allocated to that project. Again, for the 929 and Parker roundabout, you see another $500,000 as allocated in addition to that $1 million in DOTD safety funds that we were able to get approved. For the Duplessis project that we said we were able to get additional funds for, we're going to be able to add an additional 1.6 million. That's already been approved. And the MPO is approved, and we're waiting DOTD concurrence on these next three roundabouts along the Roddy corridor at 621, 931, and 933 at about 1.6 million apiece. That leaves us with approximately 3 million to continue to reallocate on other projects already in the Move Ascension program, or that we can add to the Move Ascension program. Now, we've mentioned all of that, but that's a good recap to kind of understand where we're at and how we're able to leverage small amounts of Move Ascension dollars to gain a good portion of federal monies. But the good news is I've been working very closely with CRPC, and later this month we're going to be I will be submitting on the parish's behalf and working in conjunction with the administration very closely and with input from the council to select certain projects, because we're in a position now, because with several projects or projects we can select quickly, we will be at the ready to go and grab from other parishes unobligated money that they could not take advantage of in a quick enough time period. And so those monies are out on the table. And working with the CRPC and the new director of this program, who replaced Ravi earlier this year, I'm hoping and very, I would say, let me back up from very, I'm very hopeful that we will be able to take advantage of this and secure additional federal dollars from the almost 17 million that we've already gotten in through CRPC funding. Okay. And just lastly, wrapping it up and wrapping out. Yes, sir.
I just want to say, I mean, that's one of the keys with the entire Move Ascension project, is that we have projects that are under design, ready to go. So when money becomes available, we can take advantage of it. That's one of the keys of the whole Move Ascension. Thank you all for touching on that and keeping us in the right direction on it. I appreciate that.
Certainly, and you're absolutely right. That is a huge key, that we have strategically positioned ourselves to be able to capture additional federal dollars as they become available. We're, again, at the end of this year, going to compete for the next round, what they call for projects that are for fiscal years 23 through 25. And that's fine. And we'll compete, and I believe we'll be successful yet again for the third round of call for projects. They're in 3 fiscal year increments. We'll be successful for the third round in a row, I believe, in grabbing more federal dollars. But this is something that other parishes couldn't take advantage of from the last round, that we've, like I said, strategically positioned ourselves to take advantage of if we're successful in our application. And then, like I said, just closing out, you'll see the list on item 8 of the ongoing Move Ascension activities that we're just continually doing on a daily basis for the program as oversight and as giving direction to pre-construction activities. And that rounds out my briefing. So if anybody has any questions on any part of this or anything I didn't cover, I'm certainly happy to answer any questions you may have.
Councilman Cagnolati.
Yeah, thank you, Aaron. And Jeff, just a quick question. Item 6, environmental, the second bullet there, additional delineation expected for new projects. I know every time we do anything in Ascension Parish, you have a potential for some wetland issues. Just, you have any idea, or is that kind of hit or miss depending on where you are?
No, we've been dealing with the Corps of Engineers since 2018 on this program. They're very much aware of it, and we've been working very closely with them. And so far, we've been able to obtain the environmental clearance and the core permitting for every single one of these projects that we have. And we're confident that we'll be able to secure the core permits for the ones that just started design, that we're not at the application phase yet. And that's only a few. And I'm confident that we'll be able to secure those permits as well.
Okay, thank you. That's all, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions? I don't believe so.
Okay, in that case, I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that Mr. Kip Strauss can log on, and he'll take the master plan. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Thank you for having me. Again, my name is Kip Strauss, and I've been working with Jeff Burst. And I also want to introduce Lauren Ryman. She's on the call also. She worked on the transportation master plan with me. I've gotten knocked off a couple times, so if you lose me, she can pick up where I left off. But I do want to recognize that, Joey and Jeff did a great job of talking about the current projects that are ongoing and addressing current needs. And then Councilman Lawler talked about how important it was getting projects shovel ready. And that's what the master plan is all about. It's restocking the pipeline, and it's doing a thorough look at the parish and how it's been growing and how it's planned to grow, talking to a lot of people, and I'll go through that, but it's identifying those projects that should be in the pipeline after Move Ascension finishes. I've got about 11 slides in 15 minutes, but feel free to, I'll kind of pause after each one and see if there's any questions as we go along. So a transportation master plan is a vision for multimodal investments. We want to make sure that investments aren't only focused on vehicles, that the communities that have the highest quality of service, we find from doing work all over the country, are investing in multimodal transportation. They're investing in pedestrians and bicyclists and transit in addition to vehicles. And then we're starting to do lots of infrastructure for emerging technologies. So a couple of years ago, the parish leadership and community stakeholders had a vision, and they identified some goals of safety, congestion, mobility, and roadway conditions. But they also wanted to make sure that they addressed short-term and long-term needs, that they addressed economic development, and they wanted to maximize the use of available funding. And we've been talking about that. You know, it was interesting when we did our study, since 2000, Ascension Parish has added nearly 40,000 residents. And then CRPC is projecting through 2042 to add another 87,000 residents. So we want to take advantage of that prosperous economic growth, and we want to plan for that so that can come to fruition. So what is a transportation master plan and what are its benefits? Well, it informs land use decisions, and we worked cohesively while you were also developing your future land use plan. So the timing of that was very good, and we made sure that the land use assumptions went into the transportation master plan analysis. We want to make sure that we're using limited resources wisely and focused on the specific needs. We want to position the parish to obtain additional local, state, and federal funding, and Jeff talked about that. Define what's important to residents and business owners. We talk to business owners, we talk to the public, we talk to stakeholders, and I'll talk about that in a minute. We want to link the parish's goals to regional, state, and federal funding goals. If the state sees alignment with their statewide transportation goals in Ascension, they're more likely to give funding. If the federal government sees that Ascension has done their homework and they've developed a master plan and the goals are in alignment with U.S. transportation goals, you're more likely to get federal funding from grants and things. So this puts the parish in the best position to achieve what the parish wants to be. And it cultivates public trust and transparency because we had 2 public meetings. We went out and had one-on-one stakeholder meetings. So we've been very transparent in this process. So we developed some guiding principles. We want to improve safety first. We heard that from a lot of people, that safety was one of the most important aspects to focus on in the transportation system. I've talked about the balancing of needs. We want to target corridor hotspots. So those are the most congested areas, and we learned where those were from our own technical analysis, as well as talking to the public. We heard a lot about supporting economic growth. So, building infrastructure that attracts economic development. We want to leverage funding, activity, and mobility, making it easier for people to get around the parish, get out of the parish and into the parish. And we want to give them alternative transportation options besides just a private vehicle. So, and I understand this could be a little fuzzy on your screen, but I know you have a hard copy of this. But we really did this project in 3 phases. And so the first phase was to identify the transportation needs. And we started this by doing a visioning exercise with the parish. That's where we identified the study goals and the vision for the project. We reviewed previous studies. We wanted to take advantage of previous work. We did stakeholder interviews. We met with economic development. We met with the school district, the police department. We met with private businesses like the chemical plants and such. So we had a lot of one-on-one stakeholder interviews. We did our own technical analysis where we collected traffic. Existing and then future no build. What if we don't do anything, but we continue to grow it with an additional 87,000 people? We then moved into phase 2, which was developing the transportation solutions. In phase 2, we developed the universe of alternative solutions. So this is where, once we understood the problems, we could start to identify what are all the possible solutions that could address those problems. Now, we found out that not all of them that we started with are appropriate for. We went through a screening process to identify what makes sense for this area and the Ascension Parish residents and businesses. We then did a more quantitative analysis to understand the impact of improvements, and we made some recommendations of a total list of projects to a steering committee. But that total list of projects was not prioritized. So in phase 3, we developed the costs and the benefits for each project. We went through an assessment and prioritization. We developed a tool to prioritize projects based on their benefit cost ratio. We looked at existing funding and the funding gap that currently exists in Ascension. And we developed some financing strategies, presented this to the steering committee, and then presented this to a final public meeting in April of 2019. Any questions so far? And you guys can see my screen okay still?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
I'm getting I asked that because it's spinning on my side, but so this is just a summary of the transportation needs that we saw for existing conditions in phase 1. So in the upper left, just a summary of the safety is, I believe that there were 6 some odd at-grade railroad crossings in the parish. And so that creates a significant safety concern. In fact, Ascension Parish ranked in the top 1/3 of the most crashes in the state for all parishes. So we identified the locations of those safety concerns with the purple dots. We also identified the high growth areas to make sure we understood where the parish was growing. The bottom left is we looked at rail and freight corridors. We looked at truck corridors to identify truck bottlenecks and made sure that we have good freight in and out of the parish because that is an economic driver for the parish. I already talked about the in the parish and what the CRPC is forecasting. Traffic, we looked at all of the corridors and they're highlighted in orange, and it does seem that most corridors are highlighted as problem areas, but the most significant corridors were, obviously I-10, LA-30, LA-73, LA-70, and LA-44 were identified as the worst corridors. And then from an environmental standpoint, We want to make sure that we're protecting environmentally sensitive areas, wetlands, and we also heard from the public rural areas that we want to protect the rural nature of parts of Ascension Parish. And then finally, the multimodal aspect. We did hear a lot of interest from people on adding sidewalks, bicycle paths, at some point down the road, transit, so make sure that this plan is multimodal. This next slide just really summarizes what Jeff already talked about, and there's a lot of detail you don't need to concern yourself with, but these are all of the Move Ascension projects. The point being with this slide is that that was our starting point when we looked forward, was Move Ascension. And the important part about this graphic is Move Ascension has been going on from 2019 and it goes through 2022. But what are those next projects? And so you have to fill that pipeline that I talked about. And so over the next 30 years, we've identified over 100 projects to not only continue to address today's existing transportation problems, but the transportation problems that we're forecasting with that additional growth in residents and businesses. So we've outlined from 2023 really through 2050, 4 different programs of improvements. So these programs, do come with a price tag, and this totals up to $1.25 billion. I will say that that's not all on the shoulders of Ascension Parish. Many of these dollars are on the shoulders of DOTD, but Ascension needs to work with DOTD to get these projects jump-started, get them into stage 0, what have you. And that's what Jeff has been doing in the last couple of years, but you need to continue to do that. And we worked with DOTD, so all the projects in this plan have been endorsed by DOTD at this planning level. The first program is really just focusing on continuing to solve existing problems, just like Jeff and Joey identified. But what they've identified does not solve all the existing issues. It focuses on congestion relief and safety enhancements, capacity improvements, corridor preservation, and ongoing maintenance. And you can see over here, primary congested corridors are I-10, Airline Highway, and LA-30. And then it talks about some new interchange locations that we identified and some improved intersection nodes. Once those are completed, then the next program starts to focus on economic opportunities and partnerships. And so these are projects that help drive economic development, open up new corridors, open up new areas for development, continuing to enhance safety, adding new facilities, partnerships with DOTD, and ongoing maintenance. The third program is also focused on economic opportunity. And then the fourth program is really identifying all the remaining projects. But keep in mind that these were prioritized from the best benefit cost in program 1 to the lowest benefit cost in program 4. Any questions about that slide? So there were over 100 projects that we identified from talking to the stakeholders, from talking to the public, from talking to DOTD, CRPC, and our technical analysis. And so once they got prioritized, they're laid out on this exhibit. And you can see the 4 different programs here. This is a great map, when you've got a large version laid out on your desk. I don't expect you to be able to read this, but you can see by color each of the programs. You can also see if it's a solid color, it's a capacity project, meaning it's an existing facility and we're recommending it go from 2 to 4, for example. If it's a dashed line, it means it's a new facility. So you can see some dashed lines in here for new facilities. Every one of the programs focuses also on safety and mobility improvements. We made sure that there were dollars in each program for multimodal improvements, safety enhancements, and that's what all these thin yellow lines are. Those are the, we're not recommending a capacity improvement. We're recommending maybe the ditches be improved, or shoulders be added, something like that. So my final slide is just saying, where do we go from here? We submitted a draft report to you. Looks like this. So we're looking for approval by the Transportation Committee tonight, and we're happy to answer questions. We'd like to see it then go to the Parish Council for adoption. And then the important part starts. Just developing a plan is really just the beginning. It's not worth anything until you start implementing it. So you need to start moving these projects through the project development phase and necessary clearances. So you need to get these projects adopted into CRPC's long-range transportation plan and their TIP. They need to go through, some of them will need to go through environmental clearances. LA DOTD has their implementation process for project delivery along here. I would say that we're at 0. This is a lot like a feasibility study, but then you can start identifying the early projects, program 1, to identify those and start moving them forward into stage 1. But this process, LA DOTD says, takes 5 to 9 years, and that can be accelerated, and that's just a rough average, but it tells you that if Move Ascension's projects end by 2022, that you need to start moving on some of these most important projects. Obviously, you need to develop a funding campaign. We know that you currently receive, I think it's between $8 and $12 million goes to transportation annually. I know you had nearly $60 million of this one-time Move Ascension, but this leaves you a deficit. And we looked at similar communities to Ascension Parish, and they're spending approximately $60 million a year annually. And right now you've only got budgeted, 8 to 12. So it just kind of puts it in perspective. And we've got some information in the report about that. Developing a funding campaign, how are you going to pay for this program over 30 years? And then another idea is identifying and developing grant programs. And so Louisiana has been successful recently with some grant programs. LA1 just got, Jeff, you may remember, I think they got over $100 million, I think, for LA1 with a federal grant that
$135 million, yes.
How much was it?
It was $135 million.
Yeah, 135.
Actually, we wrote the grant application for the Department of Transportation, and they were successful. So we're very proud of that.
Yeah. So that's it. That's my summary, and I'm open for questions.
First of all, Kip, thank you. Great presentation. I've seen this similar presentation several times. It's always very impressive. It's also somewhat sobering from my standpoint. You talked about $8 to $12 million a year. We're this year, based on projections, we can get $7.6 million for all of our transportation budget, including maintaining roads, paying off bonds. So it's not nearly enough. But one of the things that we recently heard when we were in Washington, D.C., speaking with our congressional delegation, was the need for a master plan. It allows them to then create these grant programs, and they can tell their fellow senators and congressmen that this is part of a plan that has been needed. This is important to us. It's important to them. But absent a plan, they have nothing to point to say that this is important. So we need to put our priorities on paper and really start working on this. And you touched upon another very important point, I think, is we've had public meetings on this. I know we've got 2 councilmen, this is their first term. I want them to realize that we have had multiple public meetings on this. We've had council meetings on this. This has gone through the Planning and Zoning Commission, and I believe passed unanimously from them. So this is definitely moving in the right direction. And I think this is a very good step forward, because one of the keys that both you and Jeff have talked about is the opportunity that when other parishes don't spend their money, to have projects ready. And that's where we need to be. And this is a part of that also. So I'm going to get off my rant now and allow everybody else to ask me questions, because I hate hearing myself talk. So, Councilman or Mr. Deanna, y'all have any questions? Councilman Cagnalotti.
Yeah, thanks, Aaron. Just one quick comment. I think that you mentioned something that this program, this master plan for transportation, is going to be integrated or merged with the master plan developed by CPEX. And I think that's very important to going forward. This is a piece of a master plan for the whole parish. It's a very critical piece, because drainage and transportation by far are the two most common complaints that we hear. Am I right, gentlemen? So we can accomplish a plan and a program, and the proof's in the pudding about having shovel-ready projects. If you got a project designed, it's ready to go, the chance of getting funding is going to be highly improved over one that hasn't even come off the drawing board yet. So thank you for your presentation, Kip. We really appreciate that. That's it.
Thank you, Councilman. Other councilmen, do we have any questions? Councilman Mason.
Yes, Kip, you mentioned that this had been kind of going on for a while, and you guys did a lot of the work last year. When was the last time this project was, I guess you could say, like updated or kind of just followed up on with based on what we have right now versus kind of the trends that we're seeing going forward?
So you probably can't see it, but we submitted a draft in May of last year.
Okay.
So that's the last time it's been touched. So it's been a little over a year. But, I'll say two things. I don't think anything has changed in here that would require you to go back. But it's as important as a master plan is, as Councilman Lawler stated, this should be updated probably every 5 years. That's what many communities do is, things change. And, we're in a different environment for COVID. We don't know, I'm working on a long-range plan for the state of Kansas, and I'm working on a long-range plan for a freight study for the state of Missouri. But we're not out of this cloud, and we won't be for a while to know how COVID is going to impact the economy. We probably won't know for a year or two. So, but it's definitely affecting transportation and it's affecting the economy. But I would move forward with your best available data, and then down the road, every 5 years, you want to brush it off and you don't want to redo it completely. You want to look at what's changed.
I got you. Yeah, I think that was kind of one of my biggest concerns was, I did actually talk to Aaron about this, and I would just want to make sure there was some fluidity in the document, so that way, if we do kind of follow up, like you said, at least 5 years, maybe even more than that, depending on, COVID or whatever happens with the landscape of our transportation needs going forward. So I wanted to just double check that. So thank you very much, Kip.
Yeah, and that's consistent with what CRPC does. They update their regional long-range plan. I believe it's different. There's 4 to 5 years.
Sure.
Every regional government is every 4 to 5 years.
All right, thank you.
Michael, Councilman, this will be, based on my knowledge, the first time we've ever had a master plan of any sort for transportation. I don't know how long.
It's exciting. No, it's absolutely exciting to have, for sure.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman,
I look forward to this.
Approve.
We have a motion by Councilman Cagnalotti.
Second.
We have a second by Councilman Mason. Do we have any further discussion? To the full council, yes. Do we have any further discussion? Any objections? None? So moved. Congratulations, gentlemen. This is, I'm very excited about this. I know it sounds strange. Y'all think I'm crazy, but it's kind of a big deal. We worked really long and hard on this. Just get out of committee. Now we're moving to the big time. Thank y'all. So let's see. Moving on, Kip and Jeff, thank y'all very much, especially Kip. Thank you. You put this together. Your team has been down to Louisiana several times to meet with people, to meet with us. Thank you very much.
We've enjoyed it. We love working with you guys, and we love working with communities to help them, achieve their goals. So thank you.
Keep up the good work. Okay, moving on to item number 5F, approval of change order number 1 for the LA 73 at Henry Road intersection improvements to increase the contract by $13,600 for an additional drainage pipe to install.
Second.
We have a motion to approve and a second. I believe that was by Councilman Mason, and a second was by Councilman Cagliati. Any further discussion? Any objection? None. So moved. Moving on to item number 5G, approval for change order number 2 for the LA 73 at Henry Road intersection improvements to increase the contract price by $13,260 for asphalt pavement patching at cross drain locations.
To approve.
We have a motion to approve by Councilman Mason and a second by Councilman Cagliati. Any objections? None. So moved. Item H. It's approval to change order number 3 for the LA 73 at Henry Road intersection improvements to decrease the contract price by $5,123. We have a motion by Councilman Cagliati and a second by Councilman Mason.
We all just
on
want
the
this done.
discussion.
We're ready for this intersection to be done.
Yes. Well, on the, I do want to add a discussion on this. And Joey, I'd like to talk to y'all about this, and we get with finance. I think it's more of a finance issue. On February 15th of 2018, in the last council, we, the full council, gave authorization to the Transportation Department to approve necessary change orders associated with Move Ascension projects, dealing with materials and quantities only, not changes in scope of work. And anytime there's this change, the reconciliation of all the quantities and costs, whether it be overruns or underruns, would have been required at the end of the project and reported either to this committee or the council for final approval and project closeout. The reason we did that was because many times, and Joe, you know this very well, is that a project may be rolling along smoothly and we find out we need 25 more feet of concrete pipe. We may need more gravel, but it's not a huge amount. And the concern is that if it has to go to transportation and then the full council and get approved, you could look at a month or 2 month delay in a project. So we approved this back in February of 18 so that we didn't have those kind of delays on materials issues. What I'd like to do is make sure that the finance department is working with the transportation department. Not that I mind having these change orders, especially the ones that will reduce the amount of the projects, but I'd like to make sure that we're going to work with finance and get them on board so we don't have to do this, and maybe these projects can move a little faster.
Correct. And really all these change orders, they're being done, I'm doing the paperwork on these now so that, like in a lot of cases, we're creating items. I cannot, the current method that we have now, I can't pay for an item until it's approved by council. But believe me, we are not slowing down any project because of this task. We continue to, the contractor continues on. In some cases, they just understand that there may be a delay in their payment. They may do work that it may be on the second pay app as opposed to the first pay application that comes up. But I'd like to even avoid that and be able to pay them right off the bat if it's something minor or, something for a small amount. So it's something that I may have an internal discussion with our accounting section. If it's stuff that's low money and you got to determine what is considered low money and high money, certainly something that's an addition of 50,000, well, then maybe that needs a little more consideration by the Transportation Committee and the council. But if it's something that's certainly 5,000 to 10,000, maybe we can find a way that we can go ahead and pay that. If it's a minor thing, like you say, just an overrun of an existing item, to me, I'll work to see if we can find some way to just pay that as we go, and we will catch everything with a balancing change order at the end of the project. So I'm hoping to come back next month with some kind of method to where we can make this a little less cumbersome.
Okay, yeah, I think this is not as much, I mean, y'all are doing it on your end. I think we passed something that would allow this. We just have to make sure that finance is working with us all on this also. Like I said, we passed something, the full council did unanimously in February of 2018, which should allow you to make these change orders without coming to us. I like to make sure things run smoothly on that sort of thing. So next council meeting, we'll get together in between then, just make it go forward. We don't need to spend any more time on it.
But I do want to assure you that we're not slowing down the construction of a project because of this.
Absolutely, great. Thank you very much. Let's see, I forgot where I was. I think we were on, we're on 5H. We had a motion, we had a second. Any further discussion? Any objections? None, so approved. Item 5I, approval to change order 002 MA 1701A, Roddy Road, LA 935 to LA 621, clearing and grubbing master contract.
Motion to approve.
Now, I apologize, I should be putting that number amount on the items like I did on the other ones. I just didn't do that this time. This one is for some additional trees that it was kind of a borderline as to whether they needed to be taken down or not. Some trees were very close to the right-of-way line, so that's why I decided to include these.
Good call. Councilman Cagliati would like to know how much, if you heard that.
The dollar amount was $12,540.44. It was a total of 4 trees. These are big trees.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Any objections? None, so moved. Thank you all. Item 5K, approval to change order 003 MA 1701A, Roddy Road, LA 935. Oh wait, did I just do that one?
No, L. There.
I thought it was an L. Clearing and grubbing master contract, K.
Motion to approve.
This again is to remove some trees.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? None. Any further objections? None. So moved. Item number 5I, approval to change order number 1 for the LA 73 at Oakland Drive to increase the contract price by $24,593.53 to provide for an additional soft cutting of pavement provided for square tube posts for street signs and provide a stone replacement for sub-base failure.
Motion.
Second.
That's L. Aaron, that's item L.
You skipped K.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
This is really hard on the phone.
It is. I think I just did K. We passed that. I skipped L.
No, you said L was I, but it's L.
Oh, that's what it is. It just looks like it. Okay.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman. Excuse me, Mr. Chairman. There was one skip. We only did 2 of the 3 Roddy Road clearing and growing master contracts. I'm not sure which one was skipped. Joey, maybe you want to go through the dollar amounts of all 3?
Yeah.
Okay.
I believe it was the one that was skipped.
Yeah, it was K.
I skipped K. Okay.
Yeah.
Then let me go back to K. I apologize. I'm doing the best I can, which is not very good to begin with. K. Approval to change order 003 MA 1701A Roddy Road, LA 935 to LA 621 clearing and grubbing master contract. K.
Motion.
That's K. We have a motion and we have a second. Any objections? None. So moved. Moving on to L. Approval to change order number 1 for the LA 73 at Oakland Drive to increase the contract price by $24,593.53 to provide for additional saw cutting of pavement provided for square tube posts for street signs and to provide a stone replacement for a sub-base failure.
Motion.
We have a motion from Councilman Cagliati, a second by Councilman Mason. Any objections? None. So moved. Item M is in mommy. Request approval to extend the contract term of the 11 contract design consultant CDCs through August 2021 in order to continue to provide services as part of the Move Ascension program and as provided for in their respective master general engineering contracts. Mr. Sura, we have a motion to approve.
Second, but let's hear what Joey has to say.
Yeah.
And yes,
Sorry.
we have a second by Councilman Caglotti for discussion purposes.
This is
And,
for the 11, I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna. I didn't hear you speak. I'll let you go first. I apologize.
Okay, this is just for the 11 design teams that we use for Move Ascension. This just, the contract is up, so this just allows for the extension of their contract time to where we can continue to use these teams in order to do Move Ascension projects.
Yes. This doesn't add any more money to the contract. Originally, these contracts were 3-year contracts with 2 one-year renewals, and we're at the 1-year renewal right now.
Correct. There's no money added to this.
Yes. So we have a motion. We have a second. Do we have any objection? None. So moved. Item N, roads to be considered for acceptance into the parish maintenance system as follows: Ascension Commerce Center, Camellia Grove Subdivision, Germany Oaks Subdivision Phase 2, Jamestown Crossing Second Filing, Reese Lane Subdivision.
Motion to
I
approve.
don't have. We have a motion to approve.
Second.
A second by Councilman Caglotti. I don't have any other information because I can't pull up my agenda right now, but thank y'all. Any further discussion? Any objections? None. Item O, motion approved. Item O, approval of
Aaron?
Just talk to this, I
Yes.
can't see you.
The only thing I wanted to add is, I don't know if you included Talon Drive and Carson Drive. Those were accepted previously, but we do want to get the mileage on record so that we can get a correct recording of the amount of mileage added to our system.
I understand. So we need a amended motion to add Talon Drive and which other one?
Carson.
Talon and Carson.
So Councilman Caglotti, you have the amended motion.
Second.
Do we have a second? And we have a second by Councilman Mason. Any further discussion? Any objections? None. So approved. Thank you, Joey, for correcting me. Item O, approval of entity state agreement for state project H013850 Duplessis widening US 6173. We have a motion by Councilman Mason.
No, Dow. Motion, not second.
Motion by Councilman Wagsback and a second by Councilman Mason. Any further discussion? Any objections? None. So moved. Item 5P, approval for change order MC04 balancing change order for 2019 asphalt overlay master contract.
Motion.
We have a motion. We have a second. Do we have any further discussion? None. Any objections? None. So moved. Item Q, approval of substantial completion for 2019 asphalt overlay task 3.
Motion.
We have a motion by Councilman Mason, a second by Councilman Caglotti. Any further discussion? Any objections? None. So moved. Item R, approval of substantial completion for 2019 asphalt overlay master contract.
Motion.
We have a motion by Councilman Mason, second by Councilman Caglotti. Any further discussion? Any further objections? So moved.
I just hope Miss Terry's watching this and laughing at you.
I have a newfound respect for Councilwoman Chairwoman Cazzo to see how she has handled this rambunctious group during a full council meeting. This is much harder than it seems, but she does a great job with it. I think we'd all agree. Yeah. Item 5S, request a contract time extension, no additional funds, through December 31st, 2020 for the following HNTB task orders for the Move Ascension program. Amendment 5, Task Order 1, Transportation Master Plan. B, Amendment 1, Task Order 4, Environmental Core Permitting. C, Amendment 1, Task Order 5, right-of-way acquisition. We have a motion from Councilman Wagensback, a second from Councilman Cagnolati. Do we have any further discussion? Do we have any objections? None, so moved.
Motion to adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn and a second. I do want to say thank you, everybody, for making this a success. Everybody with IT, y'all have done a great job. Thank y'all very much. Joey and Jessica, great job.
Hey, Joey's got some.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, council members, for allowing us to present today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Joey, go ahead.
Yeah, I did want to add one thing that I just found out just an hour or so before this meeting is that we did get the second drop of money from DOTD for the road transfer where we took on LA 930. So it's $1 million that's put in the parish coffers towards any project that we want. And I'm sure, Jeff will find the appropriate location for this money to where we can keep Move Ascension going.
Good.
One thing I'd like to add on that is that's actually the third of 4 installments we're getting from DOTD. There was an initial $1.7 million payment, and then they were going to spread the remaining 3.25 over the next 3 fiscal years. So we just received our second of the 3 balance payments. So we've received now of the 4.9 million that they're paying us in cash, not credits, which is important. We've received just over 3.8 million from DOT thus far. I just want to add that point.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Great job. And we've had a motion to adjourn, and I will approve that.
All right.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Thank y'all. Good night.
Hey.